And hello to all friends, Potato is with you. And this is a complete guide to a very cool edition for Fashion Botany. It's called Extra Botany, and on version 1.16.5, we have added a lot of things here, so I advise you to take a look. But before you start watching, be sure to subscribe to me and click on the bell so as not to miss new videos. But we're getting started. This mod is an addition to such a popular mod on which I have already done a review, Botany. New weapons, new armor, new magical items and more are added here. And most importantly, a new boss is being added here, a 3rd level Gaia. There are also various flowers, lenses, new relics that are especially cool. But let's start with the basics of this mod. And the first thing you will need to do to start developing in this add-on is to make such a fuel of nightmares. To create it, you only need that mana. Naturally, in order to develop an addition to this mod, you will need to somehow develop a little bit of the usual mod, the Botany mod. That is, you will need to make your first mana already, and you throw coal into this mana. See what you get. You get the fuel of nightmares. You can make something out of this fuel. Namely, in the future, make such a special catalyst, and you can also eat it. Let me make a little more. Look, I eat it with 100% chance. To do this, I will need to switch to survival mode. Look, I eat and get such a fuel of spirits. You will also need it for some crafting. But you can make this process a little easier. To do this, you will need just, or rather not even just, but if you already have a portal to Elfhelm, then you cannot eat this fuel of nightmares, but just throw it into this portal and get 100% spirit fuel. By the way, you can also throw this fuel of spirits into the portal and see what you get. You get a fragment of perfume at the output. You will also need it for crafting. But you can also eat this fuel of spirits, and then you will get, look what effects, night vision for 25, luck for 25, speed for 25, and strength for 25 seconds, which I think is pretty cool, and in some cases, can be useful. After all, here consider that we get it all from one coal, and also a certain amount of mana. Next, let's look at this new mana reader. This mana reader will allow you to read how much mana is, let's say, in the mana pool. Look, I'm poking the PCM, and it says here 1,000,000 mana is in this pool. Next, let's say I take some kind of distributor. So I put them up, and also put pools of mana to them. Now let's put ordinary mana pools like this empty, so that they transfer mana there, and just see how much mana there will be. So here we transmit by how much. In short, the numbers are too complicated, so you generally see. Further, Elvish is naturally much more effective here, and you are getting straight in general for tens of thousands. In general, this is really a very convenient staff. By the way, we craft it as follows. Here, you will need 2 branches of the life tree, 2 mono powders, and also a moon diamond. Next, consider this mana buffer. It is made from 6 fabulous pools of mana, 2 mono lenses, and also an ingot of Gaia's spirit. Let me take it. Also take the eternally filled and ordinary pool of mana. Look, this mana buffer can hold as much mana as it can hold as many as 64 pools of mana, which is really, in my opinion, a lot. How do I put it all here? To do this, you just put here pools of mana, and that's it. It's starting to fill up. Let's take the mana reader now, and take the PCM. Look, almost 1,000,000 are already being filled into it, and how to withdraw mana from here. To do this, just put a pool of mana on top, and look, all the mana is pumped out into it just fine. And you can use this mana buffer, instead of the structure that we built here with you. You can remember, this is by the way, an endless mana farm. And here, look, we had this thing. This is a mana battery. Here, by the way, the pool has already completely filled up, and now the battery has also started to fill up. How much do we have here? 6 times 4. 24 pools, and you can put just 1 block, instead of the whole thing here. And 64 million mana will be stored in this block, as in 64 ordinary pools. In short, really very cool. Then, with the help of this add-on, you can now make very convenient new items. These are universal petals, universal rune elements, also universal runes of sins. What is it and where does it apply? You can use this in crafting, where certain types of petals are used. Let's now show you some kind of crafting. For example, let's say the Starostali Terrace, and some kind of rune is used here, namely in summer, and here you can use the element rune instead of it. Also the rune of the element, these include such runes as earth, fire, water and air, well, and all sorts of such. And the crown of sin includes the following. This is, let's say, the rune of anger, the rune of pride and similar greed, and in general, those that relate to sinners, so to speak. Well, in general, what is it for? These are, so to speak, universal runes that you can use in crafting, that is, the runes of sins. Let's say, the greed rune is used somewhere, and you can put such a throne of sins instead of it. It's very convenient actually. You can combine his spirit guy with any other room in 8 pieces to get universal damage to sins. It's the same with the elements and also with the petals. Connect any petals, in general, of any colors, get a universal petal that you can use almost everywhere. This is, let's say, a simplification in the game. Then, there is such a cool Dementia catalyst, like a spatial catalyst or something. I take him. I also take a pool for him naturally. It's because it works like a regular catalyst. I'm going to put a pool on top of this, and now here, we can do the most useful things in my opinion. This is from the Nether Star, as much as the Totem of Immortality. It's true that 500,000 mana is used in my opinion, but still, by the way, let's see what else we can do in it. In it, we can also transform, let's say, a fire rod into a larger number of pieces, an apple into a Horus fruit, and then the source into liters, which we will analyze later, a stone in the Enderniak, and so on. In general, we can transform objects from one world into objects of another world. That is again, iron ore in Nether quartz. Then new cocktails are also added with this addition. You can make such empty bottles from mono glass. We also take mana, and here are the cones with speed. Then, we will also take a metal for heroism. What it is we will analyze a little later. Well, in general, the following subjects. Now let's take it all in order. First of all, you make such an empty bottle of mana glass. Take any of your pool, and poke the PCM. Get a cocktail of mana. You can drink it and get nothing. But, you can connect this whole thing together with a flask, let's say at speed, and thus you will get a customized cocktail at speed. We will have the speed for 2 minutes, and for as many as 8 receptions. That is, you can drink like this. Let's do it. Here we have a speed of 2 superimposed on 2 minutes. Consider this an improvement on our flask. But, you can also combine this cocktail with a medal for heroism. You can get it when you kill a 3rd level Go. And we'll talk about this a little later, but now we'll take an infinite wreath to speed, which we get for 12 receptions. And this is already a relic by the way. You can use this relic 12 times a day, but if you use it 12 times a day, then it will simply disappear. But every day this relic will be updated. That is, let's say you drank 11 times a day, and then the next day, this thing is updated again. And you can drink like this indefinitely. By the way, speed 2 is no longer superimposed on us here, but speed 3, and still, for almost 2 minutes. You can also combine these cocktails with the fruit of Horus, and get such holy pomegranates. In this case, the force. What is it? In general, it's like these explosive potions, that we can throw like this, and, in principle, it will still overlap like explosive potions. Only the effect will already be from this mod, namely, you can do here, let's say, for some such soul crosses, let's say. Also, here are such complex concoctions for strength 4, speed 3, weakness 2, and hunger 3. Well, and the like. Next, now let's analyze all the flowers from this fashion. We actually have quite a few of them here. Here you can see as many as 2 chests filled with us. So let's get started. The bell is the first one. We take it and also take the distributor. What is it? This is our generating Flora, and it will generate mana from the wind. Yes, look, the higher we put it, the more mana it will produce. So let's put it on. I'll tie it to this distributor here. Here you can see that mana is being generated. Just like that, a little bit by a little bit. And by the way, this flower is passive, so they will need either the same 7 growths, or another flower, which we will talk about a little later. Well, in general, if it rains now, then this flower will produce more mana. And in principle, this is all the end of its functionality. The next flower is called Edelweiss. And this flower will work for us from Snowman. Let's just look at it. Let's put distributors, this flower, it's already tied to us, and just remember the snowman. No sooner does he appear, than this flower. Why doesn't he eat it by the way? And it should eat it right away instantly. Well, that's weird. Let's do it again. Let's remember the snowman, and that's it. He immediately disappears. Let's remember the snowman, he disappears. Let's remember the snowman, and he disappears. And mana is generated a little bit like that. However, for some reason, there is very little mana, and it seems to me that this is absolutely unjustified. Although if of course the whole thing is automated, most likely the flower will bring quite a lot of mana. The next flower is called Gemini Orchids. We take it as well. We take a distributor of water and lava, and it will work for us from the temperature difference that is around it. Namely, let's put it here. Let's also assume a distributor here. We'll tie it here right away. Everything's great. I'll put water here, and here's lava, and look. Now mana is being generated here. We can also put lava here, water here, and in theory, a little more mana will be produced. And in general that's it. This is an absolutely passive flower. It can also see, so it is best for him to put either the same 7 growths, or to feed it with a special flower, so that it never dries up. If we remove the lava now, let's say, and leave only water, then nothing will be produced. The next 2 flowers are called the sun lily, and also the moon lily. You may remember from version 1710 that we had solar sharpening and the moon. I don't remember exactly what they were called, but in general they work on the same principle. We take them, and let's check them out as soon as possible. Let's put a distributor, and let's say 3 sun lilies. Now up, look here, passively generated mana. Let's also put, let's say, 2 moon lilies. In this way, our mana production does not accelerate. But if we make it night now, then the sun lilies will not work, but the moon lilies will work now. In general, these are the initial passive flowers. Then, there is such an interesting flower called omni-violet. We take it, we also take a distributor, and it will be powered by books and improved by bookshelves, literally the same as the magic table. Let's check this whole thing out now. I will put any distributor, also this omni-violet, and just throw him as many books as possible. Let's see what will happen. He will eat them. So, let's eat them. Yes, he eats them and produces mana. Here you can see quite rapidly. Here is the pool. I direct everything here, and look now. Everything is great. Mana is being developed and quickly transferred. Yes, by the way, it produces even faster than these distributors usually work, so I suggest putting, let's say, traffic police. We definitely have enough space now. Now let me put up as many bookshelves as possible, and look at its effectiveness. It increases. Now he produces mana faster. However, now it is not very visible. In fact it is. The more bookshelves there are, the faster he will generate mana and eat these books. And by the way, a really good amount of mana is produced for just one flower. If suddenly you have an endless plant of books, then you can make this flower, and really cool to work out mana for yourself. The next flower is called the Rykar lily. We take it and take the mana distributors. And this flower will produce mana from lightning strikes. Not even into it, but just somewhere nearby. If lightning strikes here, then he will produce very good mana, but you understand that we have quite powerful lightning, and accordingly, he will be able to process it into mana and send the whole thing to the pool somewhere. Now I probably won't show it to you, because it's a very long time to wait for lightning. The next flower is called a ringing color. We take it and also take distributors. Let's put this whole thing, and what will happen? And we just walk around this flower, and look at the distributors. Here we somehow have mana growing. We stop walking, for some reason, mana stops growing. What does the whole thing depend on? And it depends just the same on our steps. The more actively we walk, the better mana will be generated. By the way, it will be cool to become where we have some passing yards. There are a lot of people on the server. You can put this flower, and let's say somewhere near spawn, and then all this noise that will be transmitted from our feet will be captured loudly by color, and accordingly, converted into mana. Only here is one thing, but if this sound is made, namely the steps of some animals, then nothing will work. They should be published by a person. The next flower is called the Bloody Enchantress. I take it, the distributor and also the poor cows, because this flower will kill them. Let's just remember them here and watch. First of all, fornication is imposed on us. In short, it is such an effect that kills everyone around, absolutely everyone in general, and produces mana from it all. However, by the way, one thing. Here, we have written that this flower will produce mana by killing animals, but nothing will fall from these animals. When now, for some reason, everything has fallen to me. Let me check it again. So I'll put a pool here. Everything is transmitted perfectly with us, and the cow dies. The shot falls from it, although it should not. But apparently this is such a tank, or just a flaw. The next functional flower is called an irritating flower. I take it, we also take the washing and fried chicken. By the way, fried chicken about her. Let's now take an ordinary one from Minecraft, and also put it in the mana pool, throwing fried chicken into it. And I get this fried chicken. I mean, look, I threw a fried chicken in there, and I got a fried chicken. This is considered that the chicken soaked in mana is slightly improved. Let's fly somewhere, let's say closer to the water, right here. And this flower will fish. I'll put a mana pool, a flower here, and look, this flower should generally fish, and fish quite actively here, but for some reason, it doesn't do anything at all for me. I'll even put it on again. It's perfectly powered, but for some reason we don't get anything here, although it should. And also, if you throw this flower a fried chicken, he should eat it at all, and then instead of fish, you will also catch various items, such as charming books, shoes, armor, and the like. In general, something that you can also catch with a fishing rod. Except fish. But no, oh, wait, he's supposed to be fishing in the petal apothecary. Exactly. In short, you take it, then pour water into it. Here is an annoying flower, and also eternally filled. Power up the whole thing, and see what happens now. He has to fish out of this petal apothecary. Why does he still not want to work? Honestly, I don't understand. Maybe it should be tied to it somehow. Unfortunately not. Although, it is written in our book that we have here, that he will be able to fish if there is a petal apothecary here with water. Why is nothing happening now? Again, I do not know honestly. Maybe I'm being stupid. Write in the comments. And the last functioning flower and flower in general from this supplement is the Serenitinus. Something like that. In general, I don't know how exactly it reads. Let me put it on. More precisely. First, I will put a pool of mana, hydrangea water, a lot of hydrangea water, which will produce, let's say, mana. And as you know, they will wither with us, namely, wither, and simply disappear from the world after a while. But this flower will fix everything. You put it on, power it from this pool, and that's it. Now these are all the hydrangea water flowers that will never wither, because they are controlled by this flower, and so to speak, nourish them so that they never wither. In general, really, it seems to me, this is the most useful flower, for which it is even worth installing this one supplement. But in fact, this is only a small part of this supplement, and there are still a lot of worthwhile things in it. Next, what I wanted to consider first of all are the various lenses. There are as many as 6 new lenses to add Sasha, and moreover unusual, but quite interesting. So let's look at them quickly. The first lens is called Mana lenses. Firstly, it is made from a mana lens, a mana rune, and also mana powder. Let's put it back and take the items for her test, because you can do the following here. Let's say you can transform a fried chicken into a fried chicken, namely, just throw it here on the stream, and it will be processed the same way. So, why don't we have anything flying here by the way? Let's do it again. But because here we have the wrong distributor by the way, then let's put a better pool of mana here, so that mana is transmitted, and look like this. Yes, it's being transmitted very well now. I throw a fried chicken here on the stream, and yes, look, here it is transformed into a fried chicken. It's the same as if we were throwing mana into a pool of mana. Let's throw some kind of diamond here. Oops, look, and now he's going to be remade. But no, unfortunately there is not enough mana. But look, if we had a bigger mana flow here, then it would also be remade and become a man diamond. Also, you can put a magical catalyst, let's say, under this distributor here, and now throw it here on the way to redstone, and see what happens. Unfortunately, we do not have enough of it again, but in general, it had to be redone by us also, into redstone. But still, you can also use catalysts. That is, to put it under it, and redo something here, but the truth is something simpler than redstone. The following mana lenses are called potions. It is already being made more complicated, from the lens of mana, the runes of spring, mana powders, dragon stones, and also a bubble from the air of Mender. We put it back, and you can combine it with any custom cocktail. Let's assume in this case the speed. Just like that, hop and connect, get lenses, mana, a potion for speed. Insert it here, and now let's release it. Look up, it hits us, namely this ray, and the speed is superimposed on 30 seconds of the second level. Well, it will also act on other living beings. The next mana lens is called a push. It is made from mana powder, mana lenses, and also earth runes. We put it back. Now we just release mana here, and look, it literally drags us somewhere there, namely pushes. It will be the same with animals. Let's say I want to move a cow like this. Here I remember it, Opa, and release a stream of mana. She moves around with this mana in a funny way, and it goes about here to here. The next lensman is called melting. It is made from mana powder, lenses, mana, and also fire runes. As the name implies, this thing will melt ore. Namely, you just put blocks here, and release a stream of mana. And so he melts everything perfectly, and immediately drops not like or from the lens of destruction, but even whole iron ingots. The penultimate lens is called a superconductor. By the way, we don't do it in any way. Let's put it back, I'll throw it away, and in general. Here all our characteristics are improving, our distributor, that is, it becomes more powerful. Man flies faster from it and also further. And finally, the last lens is called the mana trace lens. It is made from the mono powder of the lens and mana, as well as the greed rune. Let's put it back and release a bundle of mana. Look, in order for this mana to happen, it should generally follow us completely. For some reason, it wasn't being done now. Let's do it again. Up, release. And yes, look, this mana is right behind us right now. Such a one is flying, and right clearly pointing at us. By the way, you can combine this lens with the damage lens, and thus impose it on this distributor. And it will be such a Savadyashaya cannon that will shoot mana and house everyone. Next, let's look at the armor from this mod. The first thing we will consider is the set of the Star Idol. The whole thing is made of an element of armored steel, and also all this is lined with mono fabric with 8 pieces. Naturally, a bib, trousers are also made, and it is this skirt that will also be shoes by the way. Let's try it on quickly, which by the way, according to the properties, this armor will just be good, so save on mana. That is, when you use some staffs, less mana will be spent. Now let's put it on faster and watch it at 5. Yes, this is of course a complete crunch, a potato in a skirt, but also look what has grown in front of me. In short, in general, a complete crunch. From behind, by the way, it looks like this. We even have a little raincoat, so funny. Armor gives, by the way, this thing 1 armor, 5 armor whole, 4 and 2. So well, then we have something better and more interesting. The first one is called the Goblin Slayer armor. It is made of photonium. But the photonium is already being made on the runic altar. Here, you will need as many as 5 types of perfume, gilded mashed potatoes, and also 3 ingots of the element. You will get 3 photoniums and also spend as much mana. Gilded mashed potatoes are made from a bowl, sugar, and also gilded potatoes. And gilded potatoes are also made on the runic altar of 4 potatoes, a gold ingot, and we end up with as many as 4 gilded potatoes. Okay, now let's take a look. From this photonium, you can make yourself armor, also some weapons, in the future special chaos, and in principle everything. Armor, by the way, is made by default, like everything else, only from photonium. Now let's try it on quickly. We put it on, and it looks really beautiful. Look at how this whole thing is worked out here. What a tridash she is. Just this helmet. The back, by the way, is not so good, but in principle, look at how cool it all looks in front. Let's look at the characteristics. The helmet gives us plus 50% maximum health, plus 4% speed, armor hardness 1, armor 2. Then the breastplate is also 50%, 4%, armor hardness 1, and armor 7. Then here we have the same thing, only armor 5, and here armor 3. But look what's the matter. Let me go into survival mode now. And now you can see that I have an additional row of hearts added. Namely, there are even 2 additional rows here, because this armor gives out 200% plus. Let's try to make myself feel better now. I'm going to fall from a height like that, but I'm going to lose it, and you can see I still have 1 layer of extra hearts hiding there. And then there will only be hearts usually. In other words, as a result, we have as many as 3 rows of hearts, which is very cool, as literally 3 potatoes are on us now. But what's the matter here, is that if there is a night, then all these buffs will be removed. And now the speed is falling off us, and it also seems to be hearts, we will now have only 2 rows. Well, I'll give it to you. Now we will even have only 1 row, and everything else is removed. That is, all additional buffs, except for armor and also hardness, will now be inactive on us until the next morning. That is, here we have a new day, and everything is superimposed on us again. In short, the armor is really very cool, especially for light warriors like these, who travel only during the day. The next armor is called the Shadow Warrior armor. It is already made of mrakium, such a dark ingot, and it in turn is made from 5 nightmare fuels, 3 ingots of elementals, and gilded mashed potatoes. All this is done, by the way, on the runic altar, almost the same, only here, the fuel of nightmares is already, and accordingly, the armor is made exactly the same. And there is also a sword like this in addition, called a shadow katana. It is made from a branch of the tree of life, also 2 mrakiums. Let's take this armor and try it on. Also, by the way, let's take a sword and eventually test it. We put on the armor, it looks like this. It's also very beautiful, as if we are some kind of samurai, and practically nothing is superimposed on us. Except here we have the following characteristics: armor hardness 1, armor 2, 6, 5, and also 2. But let's make it night now, and this armor will be active at night. Here, we are already given night vision 2, for infinitely, namely for the whole night. And also at night now we are getting stronger, and this sword does not deal 6 damage, but now 7, even 8 was. Well, let's check it out. Here are 7, and in general 7 damage, but for some reason, I even wrote 8 before that. Just as it is written in the book, a full set gives us speed, strength, as we can already see night vision, but for some reason, I don't have the speed of force, although maybe in fact, there is a little bit of it. And also, when we attack with this sword, we have a chance to summon a dark pixie. The same as the usual pixies, only it will be dark like this. Well, in principle, the functionality of this armor ends. The next armor is called the Arrow Defender armor. It will be really very powerful, but it is done on Buistiquerel light or something like that. To create it, you will need a phantom membrane, a bubble with ender air, a dragon stone, and in the end, you will need to do it all on that pedestal, where you make terrastals, and a million mana is involved. It turns out only 1 ingot, but this ingot will help you make this very cool armor. The helmet is made. From the helmet we have come, of these 3 ingots, 2 branches of the tree of life, and also the runes of spring. The bib is also made, only here we have a rune in summer, pants the rune of autumn, and finally boots, here we have the rune of winter. Each armor element gives the following characteristics: attack speed plus 3% damage plus 10%, flight speed plus 10%, usually speed plus 10%, armor hardness 2, and armor 4, there is also armor 8, 7, and finally stream. Let's try it on, and also take a creeper, try to beat him. So, first of all, I'm putting on this armor. She looks very, very, very cool, like some kind of light warrior, straight, I do not know, in quantum, or something even cooler than quantum. You can see now that the rush is already being imposed on me. Also, my damage has been increased by as much as 40%. The attack speed is also increased. It turns out that by 12%. It turns out that I'm hitting a little faster now. You are not paying attention to these swords now. We will not take it away, but it is from this very cool sword. By the way, also from this supplement. Well, now let's try to beat the creeper. So let's make it easy and beat the creeper. We deal him 1 damage, so with a jump 2. Well, in principle, now we will just deal more damage to it. Also, with this armor, we will now have a much faster bowstring pull. Just look, up, how fast we shoot, take off this armor, and now how slowly the bowstring is being pulled. With this armor, by the way, there is also a special bow, which we will consider a little later. Although it can even be said that this bow does not belong to this armor because it is a separate relic. But by the way, it can be used just the same with this armor. After all, this armor is really for a defender shooter. The next armor is called the armor of the battle maid of the Pleiades. Yes, it's certainly tin. It's going to be a very poor potato again now, but the armor is actually really very cool. And here, to create it, you will need this kind of Rhine gold. It is made of gold ingot, 4 mono fabrics, and 4 spirits of the traffic police. This is all consider that there will be a type of improved armor of old steel. The armor itself is made of old steel armor. This is just the same gold of the Rhine, and 3 bars of the traffic police. That's how the terrace is made, pants and finally shoes. Let's try it on. And this is how it will look like. Yes, the potato is just a cutie, again in a skirt. He even has such ears like this. What does this armor give? First of all, the maximum health is +5, here is also +5, that is, in the end, we have a second health bar. Also armor hardness 3, and C armor 4, 9, 7, and also 4. In short, very powerful armor. And with this armor, your attacker will deal as much as 9 damage. You figure it out, you will literally hit even harder, in my opinion. Yes, stronger than an invisible sword. He deals 8 damage, and now you hit 9 damage just with your hand. Let's try a Skrita, and 10 damage is also dealt here. Here. Also, this armor will remove all negative effects for you, and will regenerate you, even if you have less hunger than necessary. Next, let's look at this kind of chaos. It is made of 2 ingots of Antonium, a fragment of the spirit, and also 2 mercs of the mind. You will need this thing to create like this, a pistol. This is an improved mana gun. You can also put a mana lens on it, and shoot mana. By the way, it is made of 3 ingots of Antonium, the ingot of chaos, and the mana emitter itself. You can also make a Discord staff like this. Honestly, I don't remember how it translates to Discord, but in general, with the help of it, you can teleport coolly. And finally, you can do this kind of thing. This is a ticket for the call of the traffic police of the 3rd level. The staff, by the way, is made of 2 branches of the tree of life, 2 fingers, also chaos. Well, the ticket is made from an ingot of the spirit of the traffic police and also chaos. Let's take a look at the pistol. I'll put this lens on him right away and shoot mana. Consider it just an improved mana distributor in your hands. It will hurt more to shoot. By the way, look how many pigs are remembered here. Then Discord staff. We just poke the PC, but we have a little nausea, but still we teleport, and quite well. And finally, a 3rd level traffic police draft ticket. We will already consider it in the next part. Next, let's look at this sphere of nature. With the help of it, we will be able to summon Gaia of the 3rd level just the same. The sphere of nature is made of 4 bars of terra steel, 4 dragon stones, and also mana pearls. We take it, we also need to charge it, because it will have as much as 500,000 charges, a natural charge, something like a natural one. In general, you will need 4 pools of mana, 4 natural pylons, and such an energy frame. It is made of 6 ingots of monostal, 2 finger stones, and also a life stone. We also take it. What is this sphere of nature? This is, in general, an accessory that we can even put on, but nothing will happen now, because we will need to charge it first. How to charge? To do this, we open a book with you, go to the extra knowledge section, and now we finally find this area. Here it is a natural sphere. We poke at it, go to the 2nd page, and visualize this structure. Let's say somewhere here. Poke the PCM. Everything's great. Now, we take all our items, namely, first the energy frame of the middle, then 4 pools of mana, and not creative ones. Please note, and we put natural pylons over them. And in this way, we get a ready-made structure. Here it is. Now we just take our sphere of nature, and poke the PCM at this energy framework. In this way, the entourage is placed, and begins to absorb something into itself, and it absorbs natural energy into itself. And we'll have to wait a while for it to fully charge. To summon Gaia, in my opinion, about 200,000 charges are enough. There are, as I said, 500,000. Well, in general, so it will be very pretty for you to charge. Now let's imagine that we did it all, and consider it first as an accessory, namely, look, if you put this thing on yourself, let's say here somewhere, we will be given mana regeneration. Namely, if we have an empty mana tablet, you can see that mana is being regenerated in it now. Also, if we have little hunger and little HP, then our HP will still recover, because we will be powered with you, so to speak, by this natural energy. But by the way, this energy will not leave here. Perhaps it is a tank, most likely it is. And finally, all negative effects, such as slowness, weakness and the like, will be removed from us. Let's put it all on ourselves. Here is the slowness for a whole minute. Now we take it, go here, and impose our sphere. All this slowness disappears from us, literally after about 2 seconds. Well, in general, these are all the properties of this sphere of nature, but I also want to tell you something else, that if you put a lot of them on like this, then the effects will dock, and let's say your regenerations will be faster, which seems to me pretty cool, and most likely it's also a tank, because in general, they should be worn only on the accessory slot, when it is worn absolutely everywhere at all. Next, let's finally consider our guy of the 3rd level. It will be just unrealistically powerful. I advise you to go at least an armored steel, and it's better to have some better armor. I do not know where to enchant it or the like. Well, in general, to summon the boss himself, you will need the same structure, which is located over there, and also, either a sphere of nature, charged with at least 200,000, or just such a thing. It's like a letter, to summon yourself, like this, yes, in general it translates as something like this. Here, it is crafted from chaos, and also an ingot of the spirit of the traffic police. We have already considered how chaos is made. Let's take this invitation letter in our case, and in general that's it. Nothing else will be needed. Only the structure that we also had in the previous 1st and 2nd level guys. Now let's just go to this lighthouse and poke the PCM with this letter. And what do we have? Why is it not called up? That's all fine. The boss pressed, and we are calling for potatoes. Yes, he has 600 HP, 20 armor, and it is just unrealistically powerful. Even now, I shudder when it hits me, even though I'm just in a creative mood. But look, in general, it will be, as I said, unrealistically powerful. It will have various attacks, much more diverse than the previous gaze. Let's just start mutualizing it. I have a pretty powerful sword like this, the most powerful in general in this fashion, for 15 damage. And let's try to beat it up like this. You can see all sorts of swords flying, and by the way he will also make the same attacks, so always dodge as you can. He will also have up. Here, by the way, is the next stage. There are beacons like this, namely one lighthouse, and fields like this. The fields will be beaten. The lighthouse will also be bludgeoned, so be very careful. Now he is invulnerable, so you can't beat him in any way. You just have to dodge. Here he even drives our sword out of our hands, but he has moved to the next stage. Now we can beat him again, and over time, he will also move to another stage, somewhere when he will have less than half of something HP, and then he will call his servants, such as players, but it will be such bots. He will then be completely invulnerable, and you will also need to kill them all so that he moves to the next stage. Look, he has now become completely invulnerable. That is, he has about a quarter of HP left, and such players are attacking us. They also have 60 HP, by the way, quite a lot, and 10 armor. So be really very careful. There are also his other attacks going on here. Everything is fine. We killed them, and Gaia is now available for damage again. We can finish him off. Everyone look, the last stage. Now he has beacons like this, literally multicolored. How many of them are there? 4 pieces, yes, in my opinion. And now, he is also completely invulnerable. But you can see that he has 24 HPM left. This means that in the next stage, we will be able to finish him off. The weapons were knocked out there again. Yes, it's certainly unpleasant. And that's it. We can finally finish him off. The last blow, everything is fine. We killed him, and we got only 1 item, and also a little experience. And we got a Pandora's box. And also, by the way, the potato, most likely not me, Ohio told us something here. Like it's the end of the world or something. In short, what is Pandora's box? We poke the PCM through the air, and something is given to us. Namely, this bag with the Ains award, then, the bag with the Tsvoy award, the bag with the Dry award, and finally, the bag with the Ether award. Here, 32, 16, 10, and 10 of them, respectively fell out. And also, by the way, the main thing here is that we naturally got a medal for heroism. With this thing, we can make various relics. Well, let's look at the bags. And the first bag we have is the most such a need. Here, we can get petals with a 20% chance. Then, with another 20% chance of petals, only 8 pieces. And finally, universal petals, also with a 60% chance, but 6 pieces. In short, in general, the petals will fall out to us here. Then, the next one here is already 16 pieces, half as much. This is a more valuable thing, so to speak. These are bags with a pile reward. Here, we have 80% of what the rune element will fall out, and also 20% of what will fall out exactly to sins. Well, in general, we have already been through this. Then, 10 pieces. Here, we already have a lot more different items, they are more expensive, and medals for heroism may also fall out here. True, there is a very small chance, less than 1%, namely 0.88%. But still, it's also cool. And finally, probably the most expensive handbag. There are 10 of them falling out here. This is a bag with a fur award. Here we have not only ordinary diamonds, all sorts of black lotuses and other things falling out, but also a new relic, which is not being crafted in any way, called omniscience. Here, we have a 0.53% chance, very small. You'll have to kill probably about a dozen traffic police to knock this thing out. Maybe even 20. 20 if you kill Guy, then you will definitely knock this thing out, but in fact, it is quite cool, and today we will consider it. Well, let's open one purse, an ordinary Ains, just a CMPM, and that's where the petals fall out in this case. Well, in general, let's now move on to considering all the relics that you can craft with this mod. The first one is like this with a ring of C, or something like that. How it translates, I don't know exactly, but in general, look what this ring does. It gives you buffs from all the rings with which it is being crafted. Namely, this buff from Frostar is a new ring, which we will consider in the next particle of death, also a new ring. The big aura ring, we already know what a miner's ring is. Then the ring of the Great Fairy, the ring of correction, the ring of chordates, the ring of mana drive, this is also a new ring, and finally, the ring of distant wealth. All these rings, as you know, are very, very well, so useful in everyday life, and here we combine with you with the help of the end. The end is also very expensive, but in such a single ring that has all these buffs. We put it on, and now, first of all, haste is imposed on us. This is what we have from the ring miner. Now let's also remember the creepers, and here we have such an effect from the ring of death in my opinion, that we look at the creeper, and he begins to dare. Just figure it out. We burn out the creeper with our vision. I think it's very cool. And we also have a very large reach. We can beat a creeper literally from this distance. And breaking blocks is also very far away. The next relic is called the Herd of Corrupt Moon. This thing, with the help of the source, unites the tectonic belt, the amulet of the halo, the crimson pendant, the pendant with a snowflake, and finally the inspector. In general, this thing is like a ring. Only here we have all sorts of amulets and belts combined as well. Look, let's say we can make a strange jump. That is, look 1, 2, and 3. Then, a tectonic belt is also superimposed on us. That is, we will have a huge resistance to rejection. A snowflake pendant, look what it will do. We just go into the water with you, and the water turns into ice. Well, for example, the crimson pendant will allow us not to take damage in the lava. The next relic is called the Sagus Man Ring. It's basically just an improved, much improved mana ring. You can see how much mana there is. It's just awesome. And let's do the math. Here, we have 6 digits, but in general, we have 2 billion mana here. Yes, this is a lot, and most likely you will never even save up so much. Therefore, we consider that this is an infinite ring. By the way, not so many different items are used here, namely it's just a large mana ring, 3 tablets, 4 ingots that have become, and a medal. Then, the camera of Shami and Maru, another relic. With the help of it, you and I will be able to completely stop, let's say, the Tkumkum creepers, and look, they all stopped. It really has a recharge, and it doesn't work very long. Let's see when they continue their movement. Here we have charging ends, and so come on. That's it. Here they are just continuing. In short, you and I can assume that so with memory, and no one will be able to move. Then there are such yars by Hersher. It's like an improved tiara. They also have different coloring pages depending on the quartz that you will use there. Well, in general, all you need here is a tiara, a ring, and also quartz. Let's take, let's say, some kind of flender, and put it on ourselves. And look what kind of wings we have. Very beautiful, right in all the colors of the rainbow. As I said before, this is just an improvement on the tiara, and it will just work better. Next comes Arma Motor. There is also an Arma Motor accessory. It just gets twisted in the workbench. Let's say we take an ordinary Arma Motor and poke the PCM on the ground. We have a cool bike like this. We can sit on it and look high. By the way, it looks pretty cool. Yes, now we can ride this bike, and we will accumulate some kind of thing. What kind of stripe is this? If you and I press the space bar, then we will have a wild acceleration. We will drive like this. Here we are with you, and we will be able to sort out the blocks and fall calmly. In general, this kind of transport is quite convenient. Here I press the space bar, and very quickly fly forward. Also, you can repaint this thing in the workbench. Just in this way you get a mount. You put this thing on yourself, that is, in the accessories section of the mount, and then you need to click on some button. It's better to look at it all in management. Here on P is called. Great, let's click on P, and here we are right away getting on this bike of ours. Now I click on the shift, this bike disappears, it is put back in our head. Then, there is just the same origin of creation, by omniscience. This is a relic that you can only get from the fur reward bag. Let's take her, she's getting attached to us, and I poke the control. First of all, we are given a sex caliber. What it is, we will consider it a little later, but you can see that it is such a sword. Then, I click on the control again, we are given infinitely wine. Once again on the control, we are already given such a be, which we will also consider with you. More on the control of the grisai fruit, And finally, this is the key to the royal arsenal. We don't have anything else here. This is how we will alternate all the time. That is, nothing new will fall to you. In general, it's like a universal relic. Next, let's just look at this bow, called a fairy note. We take it, I also take it with a creeper, and just test it. The more damage we will have, the longer we delay the PCM, namely, pull the bowstring. Let's shoot the creeper. We will shoot mana and cause huge damage. By the way, in my opinion, even the area is applied. Well, let's try it. So are the creepers. Yes, you can see that there is a small amount of damage in the area, and even shoot them, which is very cool. Then, there is the sword, called the Fluctuations of the Infla. This sword is considered an improved thunder sword. Let's take creepers to test the whole thing on them. I'm just hitting, let's say, up close, and look, these swords are also additional flying. I'm hitting from afar, and swords are also flying. In general, such a pretty cool sword. By the way, he has 9 damage units, and an attack speed of 2. Then there is a sword called Star Wrath. This is an improved star sword. We will also remember with you as many creepers as possible, and let's hit one of them. How much is applied to him? 10 damage, and also such meteorites or stars arrive, fall from the sky, in general, cause more damage in the area. And here we have damage up to 10, and attack speed 2 and 4. In general, a pretty good sword. Next comes a sword called the True Shadow Katana. We also take it, and here we immediately have 9 damage, and an attack speed of 2. Then let me summon the creepers, and shoot from afar like that. 3 swords are flying, which cause pretty good creeper damage, and 5 pieces each sword. So well, accordingly, we can also beat up close, and additional swords will still arrive. Next comes a sword called the True Terra Blade. We also take it, and as you can guess, it's an improved Terra Blade. Let's take a bullet out of it, and look, so here's a sword that will fly right through everyone, and cause very good damage to everyone. He also has 9 damage, and an attack speed of 2. By the way, the sword flies quite steeply, straight very confidently, as if it is so heavy and very powerful. Then, there is a sword called Excalibur. He will already have damage 13, attack speed 2, and speed itself will be given to us, plus 30%, that is, as an acceleration potion. Now look carefully, I'm removing it, our speed decreases, I take it in my hands, and even the viewing angle increases, which indicates a higher speed. Now let's call the creepers, and just hit one of them, and he gets hit. How many do we have? 13 damage, ladies. But, if I shoot from it, as from a Terra Blade of an ordinary one, but let's say I won't be guided straight clearly, then this pulse, which is flying here, it will be redirected right perfectly to the nearest target that can be hit. In short, this sword is really very cool. Soon, it emits 13 damage, and it also shoots straight with autoguidance. But, this is actually all nonsense, compared to the next sword. And the next sword is the coolest, called the First Fractal, that is, the First Fractal. First of all, by the way, I want to show you his craft. Here, he has a very interesting craft. On the runic altar, absolutely all the swords that are in Minecraft are connected, with the exception of stone, gold, iron, and in my opinion, yes, everything, no more swords are excluded here. Well, in general, you can see wooden diamonds, an invisible sword made of monostal, from Elementium, Excalibur, Star Wrath, Fluctuations of Inflow, a true Terra Blade, and also a true Shadow Katana. There is also the universe, the whole universe, it is very expensive, and gilded mashed potatoes, in honor of me. The universe, by the way, is made of the end, chaos, and the source. And what does the sword do? He has 15 damage, the speed is still 2-4, and the speed plus 30 is given to us. That is, this sword has all buffs that the previous swords have. Let's say that from the Terra Blade I got here, plus 30 speed, and good damage. Let's sleep a lot of creepers, just a lot, and shoot from afar, as we have done with other swords before. Just like that, I'm doing a hop, and look at a lot of swords flying, literally everything that we used here in crafting, and creepers are all dying. This sword is very powerful. By the way, the same attack is used by a 3rd level guy when he hits you. In general, it's really very cool, and by the way, even the name here is very interesting, the First Fractal. A fractal is something that repeats itself, like some kind of repeating forms, and this is the first form, from which there are repetitions, that is, like the source of all swords. In short, a rather interesting name. Then we turn to the consideration of various accessories and other items in fashion, or rather the addition of extra botany. The first thing we'll look at is gilded mashed potatoes, and also this kind of patty chips. Gilded mashed potatoes are made from a bowl, gilded potatoes, and also sugar. Gilded potatoes are made on the runic altar with the help of 4 potatoes, a gold ingot, and also a small amount of mana. Let's take this gilded mashed potato and try to eat it. What will be superimposed on us? We are superimposed with absorption 2 for 30 seconds, slowness 4 for 30 seconds, and resistance 4 for 30 seconds. In other words, we are literally becoming such a juggernaut, impenetrable, but rather slow. Yes, after all, the slowness of 4 has a pretty good effect on this. But now we have resistance and absorption, which makes us quite powerful. In general, This is all the properties of this mashed potato. It's not like a meal, let's say, but rather an addition, like a potion. Then there's potato chips. It is made quite difficult with the help of gilded potatoes, masks, mini potatoes themselves, mana runes, 3 totems of immortality, a bonfire, and also a melting furnace. And you will need as much as half a pool of mana. All this is done on the runic altar. Let's take this potato chip, and we put it in the slot heads. That is, right here. Superimposed is such an interesting mask in the form of potatoes. A potato with a potato mask, and gold, and pretty cool, right? Such an aristocrat. And what is it? This potato mask will work the same way as this pace of immortality, but only with a recharge, and it will never disappear. Let's try to test it now. Namely, I'm going to prescribe a game mod 0. I've been breaking everything, I'm falling down, and we're looking carefully. Everything was fatal damage, but it is superimposed on us, and absorption is 2, fire resistance and regeneration as well. And now you can see that I have completely tripped up, and our mask is recharging, and quite quickly. Here's a look at literally how this effect lasts. This mask is recharging. By the way, she also spends mana. Well, in short, you can see that she has fully recovered, and we can die again. Next, let's look at these stones. There is an air stone, an earth stone, a water stone, a fire stone, and also communities. This is a stone that combines all the effects of the previous stones. The air stone is made of 2 types of air, moan diamond, lapis lazuli, and also nether quartz. The earth stone is made of 2 runes of the earth, nether quartz, lapis lazuli, also moan diamond. The water stone is made of 2 water runes, oddly enough, nether quartz, lapis lazuli, and also moan diamond. And finally, the fire stone is made of 2 runes of fire, quartz, lapis lazuli, and also moan diamond. And the coolest community stone is made of chaos, air stone, earth stones, water stones, and oddly enough, fire stones. All this is done on the runic altar, with a small amount of mana. Let's take them all and test them. We have them as accessories, and the first stone is the air. Gives us a speed of 15% plus 15%, and a flight speed of plus 15%. In other words, you and I will just move faster and fly a little faster. Literally as with the help of air. In other words, we have straddled the air and are moving faster. The next stone is the earth stone. He will give us plus for armor, just extra. And there is no speed, there is also no slowness, just plus for additional armor. Then the water stone will leave. It would seem that Omi does not give anything. In fact, he will give us a discount on the use of mana. Let's say, if you use a staff without this stone, and with this stone, then with this stone you will spend noticeably less. The penultimate stone, the stone of lights, will give us plus 10% damage. In fact, this is quite significant if you have a good sword, like this queen fractal here. 15 damage plus 10% is plus 1 and 5 damage, which is pretty good. And finally, the last coolest stone. It's called a community. Here, we have no debuffs superimposed, but absolutely all the effects are added up. That is, it's plus 15 speed, plus 10 damage, plus 4 armor, plus 15 flight speed, and finally, plus a discount for mana. In general, even percentages have not become less, and everything is in one stone. I think it should always be carried with you. The next accessory is called the Amulet of Peace. It is made of the 4 lives of wood, and also the life of stone. What kind of amulet is this? First of all, we also have it as an accessory. I'll take some weapons, and also cows, peaceful mobs. Because this accessory, if we put it on ourselves, will allow us not to cause magical damage to any peaceful creatures. That is, let's sleep with you cows, and shoot the first fractal. This is the way such swords fly, which should cause damage at all, but they do not cause anything, because we have an amulet of peace on us. That is, we will not beat peaceful mobs with a magical attack. If we take it off like this, then of course everything will die here. But if now we put it on like this, and hit them with physical damage, that is, we approach them, we hit them like this. And then of course the cow will also die. Well, let's say if you are fighting with some guy, your company with peaceful mobs is located near this guy. Then you can wear this amulet so as not to kill them with magic damage. Then, there is a rather interesting glove. Power glove, like a power glove or something like that. It goes the same way as an accessory, and will give them plus 12 to the attack speed. 12%. But that's not all, because let me put on this glove now. Unfortunately, it does not display in any way, but first of all, we will beat 12% faster, and what's cool, look, I just clamp the paintwork, and start bludgeoning, but bludgeoning is not like shouting like this. That is, we do not have full attacks. Let me take a sword now, even slower. Let's say I take a wooden sword, and look, we are attacking when we can completely inflict normal damage. That is as before, we shouted at the versions let's say 1710. Here you can make this glove, put it on yourself, and you will have the maximum damage inflicted with a sword, and as quickly as possible, that is, automatically. That's even cooler to work with such fast swords as the Fractal Queen, or else which is faster. Here, it will be quite difficult for you to click quickly, so as to deal as much damage as possible, and as much as possible. And you can just make this glove, put it on yourself like this and clamp the paintwork. And so, I think you can see that this slider is fully recharged with us. Next, let's look at 3 rings at once. This is Frost, and the Ring of Death is also a mana drive ring. Frostar is made of 2 ice, 2 ingots of monostal, as well as mana runes. The Ring of Death is made from the Rune of Envy, 2 ingots of monostally mode diamonds, also the skull of the skeleton visor. And finally, the last ring of mono drive rings is made from a mana ring, and also a sin rune. We take the rings in the network, let's look at them in turn. The first one is the Frostar ring. First of all, this ring will freeze our water. Let's go over here now, and here, you can see that the water is completely frozen. It will also work with lava sources. And I also want to tell you that if you meet some creeper, let's say, or any other both, and look at him, then slowness will be imposed on him. Can you see any effect on it? This is the effect of slowness, that is, our creeper now moves much worse. It's like we froze him. In general, these are all the properties of this ring. The next ring is the Ring of Death. This ring will already be more interesting. Let's put it on ourselves as well, and just look at the creeper. Desiccation is superimposed on it, and we will house it. By the way, for some reason, there is also a skeleton somewhere underground. Well, where is he there? No, wait, it's probably such a sound. Apparently yes, this is such a skeleton visor sound. But in general, now we will just burn out everything and everything with our vision. And finally, the last ring. This is a mana drive ring. This ring will work with us with, say, a mana tablet that you have in your inventory, and it must also be charged. And you must go through some functional flowers. Let's take some flower. By the way, let's say the ringing is wrong. Look up, I put it here, and we have mana in it. And in what way? It's because we're wearing this ring. It literally connects with this functioning flower, and transfers mana from our mana tablet into this ring. In other words, we can just go somewhere, and power up all these flowers, which seems to me quite convenient. The next accessory is called a Zenwei feather. It is made of 4 red quartz, 2 runes of fire, 2 fingers, and also a feather. We take it, and we also take creepers. Let's put it on ourselves, and remember it as a creeper. Now we can use our bare hands to shoot fireballs. So I just lean on it, and poke the paintwork. Such a fireball flies, which deals him as much as 6 damage. We can also bludgeon him up close, and nothing like that will be applied. Now it will be effective for you to hit it from afar. By the way, this does not work with swords, only with a bare hand. Now you can become this kind of fire lord, and literally kill creepers with 3 or 4 blows. I think it's fun. Next, consider a walking stick. It is made of 2 branches of the life of a tree, 2 lives of stones, and also a gold ingot. We take it and just take it in our hand. Plus 30% of the speed is superimposed on us. By the way, it seems to me that it will also dock with a stone. I haven't checked it, so we take the community like this, impose it on ourselves, and yes, the speed is being attacked. We are doing everything faster and faster. Think about it, if you still drink some speed potion, some more armor there, I don't know, put it on there at speed, and in general, it seems to me it will be very cool. You can literally double your speed, or maybe even triple it. Then, there is a very interesting thing, called the keys to the space station. We also have another variation, the mount variation. As you can guess, these keys will create a special space card for us. If we press the PCM on the ground, we get a flying saucer like this. We can poke the PCM at it and fly. In general, we press the space bar, fly up, control, down, forward, backward. In general, we can move, and that's how we will fly quite slowly. But actually, which is very cool, this thing can be used somewhere in construction, because if you click on the shift, then you will. So I flew off a little. In general, you will be standing on this thing, but look at these projections here. They are intangible with us. Only you can stand here, and let's say, build something, and the space shuttle itself will not move at all, and will stand as a block. Then get hooked on it, and fly where you need to. Also, you can repaint this thing into a mount, using a workbench, or just any creation. Here you make a mount, then go to your accessories, put it in this way, and click on R. Then you have a Cosmetotchka appears. Click on the shaft, it disappears and is taken back to your head. Then there are just incredibly interesting things. They are compatible with us only together, that is, they do not work separately at all, and do not make sense. First of all, we have such a gem about Conquest and Kev or something like that. We don't do these things at all. Here, even we do not show crafting, but here only enchantment. Let's take these 2 pieces, and also creepers. And you will need to put this gem on yourself, this slot with an amulet, and look, some kind of game appears behind us. What is it? Some two katanas, some kind of rune on the back, or what is it? And also a strip that has just filled up completely. And this thing needs to be used with a sword. That is, you take this sword in your hands, and see how, first of all, it looks very cool. By the way, I need to put on some more armor for myself, this white space one. This is the defender's arrow. It seems to me that it will be very cool in general. By the way, it's not written about these things anywhere in the books, but I literally just saw this effect. The fact that you can click on the shift and the PCM, and then you will very slowly descend, and also create some lights. And as you can see, we are rebooting our sword. Let's check it out now, because I just saw it. I wanted to show you another thing. Well, let's press it. And yes, look, here they are literally all gathered at one point, like in a black hole, and damage is inflicted on them. By the way, this sword itself can also deal 10 damage, and has a speed of 2 and 4, which is pretty good. And that's what I wanted to show you. We have such a function. We press the cipher with the PCM, then we take off together with the creeper, and can literally house it. And by the way, quite beautiful runes also appear. Let's take another look at this. Here are some runes literally that finish it all off. Most likely these are not runes, but like you know, so it's displayed in the air how these rear katanas beat here. In general, this is an incomprehensible thing. It doesn't craft in any way. I don't understand where to get it. If you know any other functions where to get it at all, then be sure to write in the comments. I'm actually very interested, and this thing seems to me just the top will be in subsequent versions if it hasn't been finalized yet. And if it is finalized, then we just don't know about it. Next, let's look at the plates that you can also knock out here. This is a record of Swordland, and it also seems to me that there is some kind of anime music there. I don't know which one. If you're fumbling, I just don't look. Then be sure to write. Let's turn on the first record over the children now. App won't be thrown for it for about 5 seconds. In general, yes, that's the kind of music here, and let's listen to the second one. As if some kind of game or anime, I do not know honestly. Be sure to write in the comments who knows. Most likely, he did not invent it himself, but took it from some cartoon or game. And finally, let's also look at all these accessories of ours, which are generally considered not functional, but simply decorative. That is, costume jewelry. So, the first one is fox ears. They look like this. Yes, in general, there is nothing to comment on here. Then, there is a kitsune mask of some kind of kitsune. In general, it's some kind of cat apparently, or a cat. Then let's watch The Sims, but I think you all know The Sims. It's such a game. Here, we have such a Simpson icon above our head. Then a red scarf. We put it on, by the way, where does it put on? On the body, interesting. And in this, we have a real beautiful scarf. I think it can be used somewhere in the filming of films. Then there are glasses, and here we have these, and also some more fashionable ones, let's say. That's what they look like. The penultimate one is the super crown. Yes, it's certainly not voluminous, it's so 2-. It's pretty funny, but it's cool. And finally, the last one. It's a mask. Just a mask, whose I don't know, maybe also from some anime, because in general, Botany itself is tied to some anime. Honestly, I don't know which one. Be sure to write in the comments. Well, in general, this is all the content that this add-on adds. Agree, very cool. Well, there was a potato with you. Be sure to subscribe, like, write comments, and also click on the bell so as not to miss new videos. Good luck to everyone,